And we're live. Welcome back, Andrew. It's been a little while.
Hello.
Hey, man.
It has. I am I a regular now? I think this is like the fourth time I've been on. Does
Yeah,
that make
man.
me a regular guest?
I would say that you're a regular guest
Yay!
for
Yay!
sure,
Time
man.
to get a tattoo for it.
But like again, like I gotta compliment you on like that you are like you want to do a podcast. Sure. What time? And you're like freaking down with it because like I'm still struggling now, even after a year with like finding guests that actually shows up. It's a real challenge.
You know, did I ever tell you about my issue with farmers? Or not so much an issue, but something I noticed. So
Farmers.
farmers, yeah. It is related. I promise this is not just weird ramblings, but it is related to what you're saying about guests showing up.
Okay, man.
So
I'm listening.
I lived in I lived in Vancouver for a while, right? And when you're in a city, right, a meeting at 6 o'clock means you show up, you sit down at 5:58, right? Like you're there, they're there, right? You unpack your laptops, whatever, for the meeting to start at 6, right? Now, one of the startups I have is it's like a sensor, like it's soil sensors for farmers, right? And so at the very early stage of this startup, we wanted to talk to a lot of farmers, right? Like we talked to as many of them as we could, and consistently, very consistently, we would reach out to them online. We talked. There'd be an email exchange back and forth. We'd send them a calendar, a Calendly link, so they could choose their own time. And so it wasn't like a time zone thing because that software modifies it to their time zone. They book a time, we show up, and they didn't show up. And so we'd email them. They'd always apologize, right? And we're like, this is interesting. It happened the first time. We're like, all right, so that's that one person. It's like it happened the second time. Oh, I guess these two farmers are like this. But as it turns out, every farmer we talked to a lot of farmers, missed the first meeting. Often they missed the second one and were late to the third, right? And we just realized like, oh, I guess this is kind of how it works. Oh, I didn't get out of the field until just now, and I saw your email. I don't bring my phone out into the field with me, so I didn't get the reminder that I had this call. And so we now built it into our systems, right? So that first time meetings with farmers, like bring other work because there's from our experience, like a 90% probability they're going to miss the first meeting, right? And not to take it personally. It's just it's just in the culture. Are you sure I never told you this story? I feel like it's deja vu for me.
Yeah, like you did like tell me the story of like work culture, a difference from like West Coast North America to East Coast North America. Um, like where you're like talking about
Mm.
like how it was like very certain that 5 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. in Los Angeles does not mean 5 p.m. It means 5 p.m. ish, right? Uh, while in New York and
Yeah,
you were talking about
yeah.
like five means five. But no, like the farmer story, that's I think that's like new to me. Like I don't recall it, but
Mm.
like it didn't occur to me that like they don't bring their phones into the fields when they're working. Of course they don't.
Yeah,
Right?
and the other thing I noticed is that when one farmer will tell another farmer that, like none of them is gonna like think anything of it. Oh yeah, of course not, right? Like if two farmers miss a meeting, like no one holds it on each other. They're just like, yeah, no, I missed missed that meeting. I was doing X Y Z, and they don't think twice about it.
Yeah, yeah, but that also like farmers are pretty much like used to making up their own work schedule, right? At least like I think so. Like they don't follow uh, a timetable like you would in an office job. Not the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So they're showing up at at 8 a.m., leaving at 5, lunch breaks at this. Like, it's not really a concept for them, right? They get up
No.
when the sun's up and they finish when the sun's down.
Yeah, man. Interesting. Interesting, man. Um, I was going
Oh,
to ask.
can you
Yeah,
can you give me a minute? I gotta.
yeah, man.
I don't
Sure.
know why my internet is doing weird things. Just give me 1 second.
No problem, man.
1 second.
Um, I'll just talk meanwhile, so you guys like have something to listen to. Um, so what's going on in Canada right now? I think like Canada is a um, democratic system, and it's a welfare system. Um, and their president
Wait,
or what? Yeah, and their prime minister is
Canada?
yeah. Like I'm just like rambling here to keep it
I
going, man.
I unplugged my headphones for 1 second to disconnect a bunch of wireless devices, and I come back and I hear we have a president in a welfare state. What
Oh,
did I
okay.
miss?
Okay, like I said, like I think that you do, but like you don't. You do that. You have a prime minister, Justin
Yes, we have a prime
Trudeau.
minister, and technically it's not a welfare state. It's just a temporary welfare state while there's coronavirus. And
Right.
whenever I talk to Americans about this, it kind of like blows their mind. But I mean, I don't know if this would be a huge shock to you. When coronavirus came out, our prime minister very quickly enacted this thing called CERB, right? CERB. I don't know what it stands for, but essentially, if your income was impacted by coronavirus, they're going to give you $2,000 a month, and they're not going to ask questions about it. Like like the normal welfare stuff, you got to apparently jump hoops through it. I don't know, but they just said, hey, let's just what, we don't care. Like just say you've been impacted, and they'll give you money. Oh, and then that was for I think that was 6 months they did that or something like that. And then they made a different thing called CERB, not to be confused with the first CERB, but this one's CRB. I don't know the rules on it, but they said, okay, rather than $2,000, we'll make it $1,800 a month. And that one went on, or still going on, for like 18 months or something like that. It's crazy. Um, and I've heard talks about them extending it again, but we'll see. We'll see. So it's only a temporary welfare state while coronavirus is going on, which I don't know what we're doing in terms of vaccinations, but I think we're pretty high on the vaccination list.
But like don't you get like unemployment checks if you're unemployed and shit like that?
You know, I don't know. I don't know,
Like
and the reason I don't know is I run my own company, right, or companies with an S,
yeah.
and so I don't think there's a such thing as entrepreneurship unemployment, right? So I've never looked into it, but I think if you were employed and then were fired, you get unemployment based on the amount you made at your previous job.
Yeah, man, like
Uh,
that's how it works in Western Europe at least.
yeah, I don't know how effective that is, because someone with let's say a banker, right,
Yeah.
like a really high end banker, if they're fired from their job, right, I think the government says it will pay like 65%. I don't know what the number is. Again, I don't get it. I've never gotten it, but
Yeah, I know like a percentage of like what it would be. Um like in Denmark it is like up to 80% or something of your salary, but that means that you need to have like extra insurance. And except for that, then there is a maximum number that you can get, right? But again, like
I
it's more like an
I don't
insurance
know
over
if there's a
here.
maximum number. I see. I don't. Again, I don't. I wish I knew more about this, because then I could complain. I guess I don't. I don't really know. But I always thought it was just unlimited. So like, someone who makes $3 million a year, but let's make it a clean 10, so the math is easy.
No, no,
You know,
no,
the
no, 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 like, no way, man. Because if that was how it works, then say that you were making, say that you were making like $30 million a year in your company, and you say like, I could just fire myself and then claim unemployment money from the Canadian government, and they have to give me like 10 million a year, and then I can just hire myself back and then pay myself double when the unemployment checks run out. At least, like, yeah, that makes sense, right?
I don't know anything about this whole system. Of course not. It doesn't make sense. This is why like I don't know what's going on with this. All I know is it's some percentage. I think.
Okay. I just found it. It is 55%.
You Googled it?
It's 55% of your weekly earnings, up to a maximum amount.
I'm a really bad Canadian, apparently. How come you're at every call I get on with you, every podcast, you tell me something about Canada, and I go, how do I not know this? See, you just Google my country more than me.
Yeah, man, I do. It's interesting. But yeah, man, apparently, like, it is. You guys have a high unemployment rate, 13%.
Is that the coronavirus unemployment rate?
Yeah, that has to be, because this is like until this is as of today, right? And it's 13.1% unemployment rate.
Did you ever see that chart where like it looked at like the past 10 years of unemployment in Canada, right? And I saw the chart with and they had the sound of the GameCube, you know, the
I know.
And then it goes, it's like, you know, it's a relatively low number, and then it, like, right at the beginning of COVID, it like 10x's, right? It just explodes. Let me see if I can find it. Canadian unemployment charts. If I Google this and then go to Google Images, like
okay, man, it's 9.6% unemployment rate in 2020 during Corona, and 8% in 2021.
Oh,
that's still high, though. That's still really fucking high.
8%. Doesn't society like collapse at 30%? We got another 20% to go. Like, what's Greece at right now?
I don't know, like Bosnia, I think, like, have a 50% unemployment, 50% unemployment rate. And yeah, man.
Oh,
like that
Greece unemployment. In 2019, it was 17.
Yeah. Man.
Well, I mean, I guess we're doing better than Greece, but I mean, there's just a lot more people here. How many people is that? You said it was 8%, 9%?
Yeah, 9%. 9% in 2020, 9.6% in 2020. And, you know, if you just say, like, round number that it is 30 million people in Canada, then that's fucking 3 million unemployed people. 3 million unemployed. That's a lot.
Wow. That's a whole city, man.
Yeah, man.
That's actually, hold on. What is the population of Vancouver?
Man, you should know that, man. Like, I know that you're not from.
Okay.
I know that you don't live in Vancouver. I know that you live on Vancouver Island, but goddamn, man.
So Vancouver has a population of 675,000 people.
Yeah.
So
2.8 million. 2.8 million in the entire county of Vancouver.
That's so okay. So the entire area is 2.8. Like that's.
No, is it only 600,000? It is only 600,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's 5 Vancouver's worth of unemployed people.
Yeah.
Fuck. Whoa.
That's
how many people on Vancouver Island? That's the whole island.
Yeah, that's the whole.
Oh my god. That is the whole island. No, it's 900,000 people. It's 850 essentially. 850,000 people live on the island. That's 3 Vancouver Islands.
It's 3 Vancouver Islands unemployed.
Oh my god.
Like, like what's happening? Like,
I'm nauseous now. What is going on with the country?
where's the incentive to getting people to work? You know, um, when like I can't possibly imagine that Canadians are fleeing over the border to work in the United States.
No, although when I drive through town, there is a lot of help wanted signs, mostly at like fast food restaurants and like low wage stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. That makes sense though. Like that, maybe there's a lot of people that don't want to take these low wage positions. Uh,
well, you can't really live even if you had two low wage jobs. Like it doesn't even pay the bills.
yeah.
Like, I, did I tell you? So I got a business partner in Germany, and we're looking at real estate, right? And we have a really good laugh because I'll show him a picture of a house that just sold in Vancouver, right? And he'll given his understanding of real estate, essentially German real estate, he'll guess how much it sold for, and he he had a laughing fit. Like he laughed so hard one of these times because I sent him this image, right? It's like this is the house recently sold. He's like, guess how much? And he's like, $40,000. Like you're not even in the right ballpark. It was okay. $100,000. Like, dude, you're still not even in the ballpark. $200,000. I'm like, no, dude, this was $3.4 million. He goes, I'm sorry, what? And he found a comparable house in like Dusseldorf or something, right? For
Yeah.
35,000 euros. It's like you added three digits, three zeros to the house because it's in the Vancouver area,
Yeah.
right? And so if you work a minimum wage job, there's no way you're going to be able to live here.
No. No.
And I think
I
that's
believe
really
that.
the issue.
I believe that, but I think like that goes for a lot of places. Also, like in Germany, most of the houses are like really expensive. So if somebody owns a house, then it's like typically because they freaking inherited it, unless they have been like really really lucky
Mm.
and in securing a high paying job. Also, like
Yeah,
it's a lot more difficult to get mortgage loans in Germany. Than at least that I'm accustomed to.
yeah. I also know that in Europe, like renting is far more like acceptable, right? Like in North America, we have this culture about owning a home, right, which is slowly being eroded.
Yeah,
But it's kind of expected. Like hey, you go to high school, you go to university, you graduate university, you get a job, you buy a house, you get married, or you get married, buy a house,
but
right? And then
why wouldn't you buy a house? Because like it is well, I would also like do anything that I could to buy a house. Now I do own a house, but before that, like I didn't like realize the point of like keep paying rent because you're just throwing money out of the window that you could just throw on a mortgage instead.
well, yes, right. So I got a colleague who I really admire with his approach to buying versus renting. Right,
Yeah,
dude's like I don't know, he's worth like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Which is why I admire him. The guy's loaded, right? And he rents. He rents in Vancouver, and the reason he rents is if you rent, you're essentially shorting the housing market versus if you buy, you're long on the housing market, right? Because you borrow to get a position, and then you're planning on holding that position for as long as you can, right?
yeah.
And if you think the housing market's going to crash, you wouldn't buy it, right? You'd rent, and then when the place you rent from that goes on the market, you buy it for pennies on the dollar. So he rents, right? And that's a pretty good justification for why you'd rent. Is if you think the market's going to go down over some period of time, you rent. So like, why would you buy? It's
Do
the assets being devalued.
do you think the
Uh,
Canadian do you personally think the Canadian real estate market is going to crash?
I yes, and the reason I think so is a buddy of mine's a developer, right?
Yeah.
Right now, he has like 40 projects on the go, huge amounts of projects. And I was talking to him about it, and he's telling me like he can't find trades because they're all getting paid now like under the table, or people about a year ago, a trade like a carpenter would be like 35 an hour is now getting offers for 60 or 70, right? The it just doubled. And typically he's been through like two of these cycles where like this craziness in real estate, and then it cools off really fast. And he goes, it's like when people are frothing at the mouth for like these deals, like the top's in, right? I think we're pretty close.
Yeah, but also I'm like thinking that you can only push the market so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could, and the reason why it's like becoming like continuing to being pushed in Canada at the moment is because there's a lot of foreign investors, mainly from Asia, that's coming into Vancouver and said like, yeah, I'll throw like a million extra on that penthouse or whatever, um, and this is contributing to pushing the prices even higher up than what the natural ascent of prices would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like at some point, like it's gotta say stop, but that's also like hinged on that, like it will also stop being like these foreign investors throwing money on it.
Yeah, well, the foreign investors, that's one thing, right? I mean, the real estate is dependent on a population, right? Like even if you had a bunch of foreign investors buying up, real estate and buying and building real estate, like there is still more real estate coming onto the market every day, right? Developers work very hard. At some point, there's just going to be like houses that are unfilled, right? And someone's going to try and sell it. Now, I agree with you. Like, if we keep pushing real estate market up and up and up, at some point, we know there is a boom and bust cycle with it. It's got to bust at some point. In 2008, the American housing market like exploded, right? Like
Yeah.
it popped, and prices shrank. In Canada, it didn't. We had a little speed bump for about 2 years where it just didn't increase as much, right? But our real estate has been going up and up and up and up since 2001, since the dot com, right? So it's just been exploding since then, and at some point, I agree, it's gonna pop, right? Because no one can live here, so the prices have to come back down.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, if
Yeah,
you ever want to get a Canadian mad, this is what you ask him about.
take take this horror scenario then. Um, you're Canadian and you're working minimum wage in Vancouver. How the fuck are you ever going to afford a home? You can't.
Oh, to buy one?
You have to buy one.
Yeah, there's no chance.
There's no
There's no
chance.
there's even if you at one point the BC government came in and said, oh, first time home buyers, you need 5% down, right? But even to get that 5% down, it's not possible, right?
No.
In 2000, I want to say 15, there was a campaign in the city. This is when Twitter was really popular and not a toxic mess. It was like a hashtag never gonna buy, right? And there was a bunch of people talking about like how much they made, right? Their expenses and how much they could save to afford to buy a house. And an average person is going to take them 15 years to get the down payment for a house for current market prices,
What?
right? It
15
was,
years to just get the down
yeah,
payment? Wow.
so this is at what again? This is back in 2015. I don't live in Vancouver anymore, right? But I remember on a bus, there was an advertisement on a bus about like some real estate firm, right? Like selling things, And I remember on the bus, which again, this is not targeting, ultra wealthy or wealthy. It's on a bus, right? So it's like low income people, right? On the advertisement on the bus, it's talked about condos starting at $1 million. That's
All
the
right.
barrier to entry for Vancouver.
So
To
so
buy a
for
house,
the 5% down payment on that, you did
mhm,
50,000 k, no 50K.
yes, yes, and this is the thing is when I tell people here about real estate in like that I'm looking at in Germany, I'm like, say we found a place, it's pretty good, we could develop it for $40,000 or 40,000 euros, and they're like, okay, so 40,000 down, and I'm like, no, 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 I understand you're from Vancouver and that's what you heard. The whole thing is $40,000. Okay, so I get like what, 10% of the property? No, 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 you don't understand. You will own 100% of this property for $40,000.
Yeah, I
And they
believe
look at
that.
me like yeah, like
No,
they're like, show me the documents that actually say this is $40,000, because it's that's to buy the property, to buy the whole house. It's less in Germany than it is for the down payment in Vancouver.
yeah, well, it depends like a little on like where you are in Germany, but yeah, I follow you. Um,
Yeah, again, we're
Definitely.
looking outside of Dusseldorf, right?
Yeah, yeah, that is like generally like a little cheaper. Um, but like I don't know, like Germany has a little bigger control on this, like because they have been like been on top of the housing market. At least the government has for the last decade. Um, because they want to control the ascent, right? They want to control it so that it doesn't go like unhinged, like it is apparently gone in Canada.
Yeah,
Uh,
Canada, U.S. It's completely unhinged. It's
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. And for instance, like I don't know, like a while back, then you could like buy apartments in Berlin, like center of Berlin for I would say like $100,000 or less.
Seriously,
Yeah,
in the center of Berlin.
yeah, which is crazy, right? €100,000 or hundred
Ooh,
thousand euros for like an apartment in center of Berlin. This is like some years ago, um, and like shit just went ballistic with like people from Norway, Sweden, Denmark, being like, shit, we can buy an apartment in Berlin in center for like 100K. And then this happened, right? And a lot of foreign investors from Scandinavia came down there to buy these apartments to have as vacation apartments, and also to hold on to and renovate and to like earn money on, and like huge business. And eventually, like the government like sees this, the German government of Berlin sees this, and it's like, shit, we got to do something. And they changed the law so that now you're not allowed to renovate. You're not allowed to like put extra bathrooms in it before you've had it for a certain amount of time. Trying to
wow.
yeah. But I understand that, like because like they were on top of it. They were like trying to like to control the market a little bit.
So I just googled this place. I googled apartments for sale Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
Right again in the center of Vancouver, 1.998 million, so $2 million.
2 million
Ooh,
2 million Canadian.
yeah. So maybe 1.5 million euros.
Okay, that's still a shit ton of money. Holy
Yeah.
hell!
I'm looking on at stuff that's like, I guess here's this one. It's like technically it's in Vancouver, right? It is one bedroom, one bath, 500 square feet, and which is, let me, how many square meters is that?
How many
Feet
feet was it?
to 516. 516. So that's 47 square meters, 48 square meters, right?
Wow.
Tiny,
You said
tiny place, right?
yeah.
Barely. It's technically in Vancouver, right? Technically,
You
but
said you
but
said
if you
500
cross the
square
street,
feet.
yeah,
Five. for 1.2 million.
No,
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 1.
no,
2
no.
mil,
For
for two.
this other one I'm looking at, this other one I'm looking at, it's 500 square feet. Again, if you cross the street, you're no longer in Vancouver, right? So technically Vancouver, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's 512. Sorry, $520,000. So like
Wow.
$400,000 or 400,000 euros
That's crazy.
for
That's
for a shoebox.
that's over 4,000 euros per square meter. That's
Yeah, per square foot.
yeah. Man, like that's nuts.
Yeah,
That's nuts. But like, doesn't this have
yeah,
any consequences?
yeah.
Like people gotta move out of the town then, or uh, who are buying these places?
See, this is a really interesting question because you're right. Like, who's buying them, right? I can't answer that. I don't know who's buying them, but I do know that the people who are currently living in Vancouver leave Vancouver,
Yeah,
right? And they go out to the suburbs, which, again, I'm on Vancouver Island. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and the vacancy rate in the town I'm in is 0%, right?
yeah,
Basically, all they do is push demand out of the city into the suburbs, and developers out here are making the killing as well.
yeah. I would imagine that because like you have an apartment in Vancouver, you sell that, you could probably like build a damn castle on Vancouver Island or
Yeah, for the
or
same
close to it.
for the same price. So there was an ultra modern like mansion that was built out here for 1.4 million, right? A
Yeah,
huge acreage, right? Very modern. Like you ever see that movie Ex Machina?
I think
With,
so.
anyways, like this guy walks into the woods like an R&D lab.
Um, yeah, we were talking about like that guy that had built the lab from from Ex Machina on Vancouver Island.
Yeah, like that.
Uh,
It looks like the house or the lab from Ex Machina on Vancouver Island. It was for $1.4 million, right? Which is cheaper than a two-bedroom apartment in Vancouver.
yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So you could have a futuristic mansion on the island, or you could live in a shoebox in Vancouver.
Yeah, I think I would have chosen the island option, but also like if you have the money to put down like $2 million cash down for a shoebox in Vancouver, um, why do you need to live there? Like
Mm.
possibly you're already economically independent, right? Um, but yeah, man, I still like have the question of like who's buying these shoe boxes in Vancouver.
I don't know. When I find someone, I will let you know.
Yeah,
But I've actually never met anyone who bought one of these places in Vancouver.
no, you haven't. So like all your coworkers and stuff, they live outside the town.
Well, yeah. So I mean, most of my employees that are in the Vancouver area are far enough outside of Vancouver, but they also don't buy; they rent, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, Vancouver has this like rent control, right, where your landlord can only increase your rent 10% each year, right? And so one of the game people play is they'll rent a
but
place,
hold on, man.
right?
Like
And
I'll
they'll
be back
hold
like
on
in
to it for
just
20 years.
just 1 minute. Yeah, you were talking about like that there was like rent control in Vancouver.
Yeah, yeah. So there's rent control. So your landlord can only increase your rent by 10% a year, right? And so one of the things people do is they'll before the real estate went crazy, some people were renting places and they held on to those apartments. So some people, I know a few people, they rent really, really good apartments and haven't been evicted, but their rent is like 10% what the market rent is because they've been there for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, okay, so then they have gotten a good deal.
Yeah,
Definitely,
exactly.
definitely.
It makes a lot of sense. But then in Vancouver, there's this thing called a renoviction, which is hysterical. So I think this is now they've legislated this out, but this used to be common practice where you like if you let's say you own this property and someone's been there for 3 years, but the rent price around them has gone up significantly, but you can only increase your rent 10%. What you can do is you can evict them to say, hey, we're actually renovating the suite, so you got to move out, right? You can, they get evicted. You move in a new refrigerator, and then you put it back on the market.
Is that legal? Because like then they could evict them and then like claim like later like the rent goes up 100%. They said yeah, it's because we renovated it and put in a new kitchen or whatever.
It was legal. It was. I think the law is now that they now have to prove that they're actually going to renovate it. So they have plans, they have drawings, they like they've paid people, that kind of thing. Because it literally like it used to get to the point where hey, we're renovating it, and then not do anything, and then just put it on the market,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But now they need to significantly prove they're actually renovating. The other one was like, oh yeah, I'm evicting you because one of my family members is moving in, right? Which used to be legal, but now it's not. Now you actually have to prove that yes, it's a family member. And, like there's all this stuff you got to go through because people used to claim like, oh yeah, this person's my family, and it's like no, you've never met them before, right? And they just rented it out to some foreigner who moved there, right?
well I'm just glad that they caught it so that people couldn't just continue to exploit this loophole.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a new loophole soon, though.
Yeah, there's always loopholes. um
Hmm.
I don't know, like do you have anything else or should we end it here? I think we're on like
Um,
45.
no, I've got nothing.
All right, you got
My whole
nothing.
rant, my whole rant about Vancouver real estate and farmers, and then yeah, that was my whole thing.
Yeah. I can add like that they also like have this rent control that you're talking about in Germany to prevent the same kind of thing.
Hmm.
Meaning that you could rent, let me say, like we were talking about, 500 feet apartment, right? You can rent,
Hmm.
you can rent like 1,000 square feet apartment in Germany, in a major city for, I would say, $300-400, maybe
Wow.
five. Yeah, but that is like they have like this rent control to always make it available for like low income families to have an apartment to rent, right? So yeah,
Mm.
man. That was the last thing that I had to add to this, and just want to say thank you for coming on the line, Andrew.
No problem. It's great to be here.
Awesome, man.